Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. It's me, the South African Wanderer, and I hope you've been following the series of videos from the Kgalagadi. I made a trip to the Kgalagadi Transfrontier Park in the third week of March, almost as a delayed birthday trip. And the videos have slowly been coming out on the channel. Part of the reason for the slowness is the editing I needed to do with, I think, almost 100 photos per day that we were there. And we were there for 5 nights, so almost 6 days. And yeah, the photos were a lot to edit and get through. This was my third trip to the Kgalagadi, and I was hoping to do sort of a summary video and some tips and tricks that will either help you if you are planning a trip to the Kgalagadi, or if you haven't been yet, hopefully it will inspire a trip to what I describe as the most beautiful park in South Africa. So I think the first time I traveled to the Kgalagadi, which was in 2018, the questions I got asked afterwards is, where in South Africa is this park? Most people within my circles actually hadn't heard about the Kgalagadi Transfrontier Park, and very few of them had even been out that way. So the easiest way for me to describe it is that the Kgalagadi is in the pointy bit of South Africa between Namibia and Botswana, and the park itself actually traverses some of the international borders. When you are driving in the Nossob River particularly, you get told that you are either in Botswana at some points, and then back in South Africa, and then back in Botswana. So that's part of the reason why it's called a transfrontier park. It actually goes across country borders. And there's no border fence, but if you are wanting to visit the Botswana side of the park properly, or if you want to travel into Namibia, you will need to go through a border post or a border control post. That is Tweedeveen for the South Africa-Botswana side, and then Mata Mata for the South Africa-Namibia side. I think being where it is, the park is actually quite remote from both Cape Town and Johannesburg. From Johannesburg, it is 11 hours. So it does take some getting to get there. I usually drive from Johannesburg, and one of the things to be wary of if you are driving out from Johannesburg is that the GPS will tend to take you on a route via Van Zyls and Askam. This is, I think, the shortest route, and that's why the GPS sends you that way. But it has a 2-hour stretch of dirt road between Van Zyls and Askam, and the gravel on that road actually gets quite deep. So if you're not driving a high clearance vehicle or a 4x4 at least, you may struggle with some of the deeper gravel sections on that road. I think my advice is rather to travel in through Upington, and then from Upington drive to the park. Because it's 11 hours to get there from Johannesburg, my suggestion is also that you stop over and overnight in one of the towns along the way, either Upington itself or before Upington. Like I did this trip, I stayed at Kuruman, and then from Kuruman got into Upington and then into the park. Coming from Cape Town, I think it's a little bit less of a straighter route. From Johannesburg, I think you get onto the N14, and it's pretty much no turns or getting off that freeway all the way to Uppington. From Cape Town, you go through a little bit of a more scenic route, let me call it, and you have to go through some of the smaller towns in the greater Karoo area before getting into the Kgalagadi. My suggestion, if you're coming from Cape Town, is possibly, again, to stay in Uppington, or on the Orange River, you can even go into Okrabis, and then from Okrabis get into Uppington, and then into the park as well. The park is about 2.5 hours from Uppington, and there is a section of the road between Uppington and the park where they do speed testing for the vehicles. So vehicles that are authorized can do up to 250 kilometers an hour on that road. It's quite a straight and well tarred section of road, so it's good for that testing. So that drive from Uppington to Tweerivieren is quite a nice drive as well. Takes about 2 hours, 2.5 hours. So if you need to stock up before getting into the park, Uppington is a good stop to do that. Then once you in the park, if you need accommodation, there are a few options just outside the park, about 5 kilometers outside the park. You can stay outside the park and then travel in every day. But just a word of caution on that, getting a permit can become difficult because they limit the number of day passes, and you can't really explore much if you're coming in from Tweerivieren. You can drive along the road to Nosob or to Matamata, and you won't really get all the way to either of those camps if you're doing a day drive. Then the options to stay in the park, the 3 big camps that I usually use are Tweerivieren, which is sort of the entry to the park from the South African side. And then you can stay up at Nosob. And then the other big camp is Matamata. Matamata has the main camp, and then just, I think it's about a kilometer or within 3 kilometers from camp is the Kgalagadi tented camps, which you can also stay in. Little bit more expensive than the chalets at Matamata, but it is an option as well. If you are booking, you need to book on the Sandparks website, and the bookings open usually about 11 months before, and are usually fully booked quite soon after opening. The park limits the number of people that stay in the park as well, and this is because they don't want too much traffic on their roads, and that will degrade their roads too quickly, cause too much erosion on the roads. So they limit the number of people, staying within the park and traversing the roads between the camps as well. Then, if you are more adventurous and if you have more than one person, I travel solo, so I tend to camp in the bigger camps. But if you are more adventurous, you can use some of the unfenced camps. Again, you can book them through the Sandparks website. There's Rooipoets, I think Urukerais, and then one of the other camps is Bitterpan, which is between Nosob and Matamata. And that road can only be accessed if you are staying on in Bitterpan. And then, some of the Botswana camps are also unfenced. You can get to them from Nosob, and you can go via Polenswa to Mabuasa Hoop and that sort of camps. And again, they all unfenced camps, and the animals do tend to come in and out. So if you are watching videos of the Kgalagadi where the lions are sleeping on these sort of teepee structures that are usually meant for putting your camps up in, you'll see that those are the unfenced camps, basically. And then just to add, if you are camping and not using the chalets, you must be aware of the weather in the Kgalagadi. The area that the park is in is almost arid, semi-desert, but is classified as savanna biome because of the rolling grass on the dunes, as well as the trees that are in between these rolling hills of grass. So the park does get rain in the summer, like all the other savanna regions in South Africa, but it is limited to between, I think, 200 mils of rain and 600 mils of rain a year, compared to something like the Kruger, where the rain would be touching 1,000 mils of rain annually. And I think because the park is sort of semi-arid, in the summer, the temperatures get quite high. I've been there in December. My first trip was December 2018. And most days were above 40 degrees, touching, 30, 32 degrees at night. So if you are camping, take along a fan. Some of the chalets in like Tweerevieren, I think, will have air conditioning, but I think Nosop and Matamata, when I stayed in those chalets, they had fans and maybe not air conditioning. I just can't remember at them. But the temperatures do soar in the summer. And then it does get cold in the winter. I was there in September 2021, and there was a pocket of cold air that had got trapped over the region. And for 2 of the days, temperatures dropped below zero, even though it was September and meant to be spring already. There are reports that it gets as cold as minus 12 in the winter months, so June, July, August, in the Kgalagadi. So be prepared for cold nights, in the winter. I think the autumn is a little bit better in terms of temperatures and in terms of visiting. I went there now in March, so March, April would be sort of autumn for the region. And then the springtime gets a bit windy and dusty. So there's no rain during the winter, and the winds pick up sort of August and September, and that makes it a bit bad in terms of the dust in the park. I've been there in September, like I said, and we got a few windy days, and the sightings fall off, and it's gets a little bit hard to go on the open vehicles and stuff like that. So I think if you're looking for the best season, probably March, April, May would be best in terms of temperatures, as well as the rain not coming through, and you getting the best opportunity to be driving with rather warm temperatures and no or less wind, let me say. Then speaking of sightings, I mean, the reason I love the Kgalagadi is the big cat sightings are, I would say, unmatched anywhere in South Africa. If you're in the Sabi area of the Kruger, you're going to get more leopards, obviously, but in terms of the lion sightings and the cheetah sightings in the Kgalagadi, I've had terrific sightings. Usually, it's lions very close, and you can get good pictures of them. And cheetahs, well, mostly during the day they're very inactive, but this last trip we got them with the cheetah moving around between where she was and the other cheetahs, and in quite overcast weather, so we could get some good pictures and video as she did that. I think it's one of the best places to get cheetah in the country, if not the best overall. And they're quite active as well. They hunt in those riverbeds quite frequently during the day. Remember that cheetahs are diurnal animals, so they will hunt during the early hours of the morning or late in the afternoon and try to hide their kill or get their kill eaten before the lions become active and the hyenas are out as well. I think then you get the chance of actually seeing both the spotted and brown hyenas, as well as the Gemsbok, which previously the park was named after, and giraffe and some of the other antelope like springbok and impala as well. So the carrying capacity of the reserve isn't the greatest, so it can't really carry elephants and rhino, so the big animals that you would see in, for instance, the Kruger, but it will be able to sustain the giraffes and some of the smaller antelope and the lion populations that go along with it. So the park is, in its totality, much bigger than the Kruger, but in terms of the carrying capacity on the predators, is much lower because the density of the animals in the park is lower as well. And then the park is, again, probably the best region or area that I've birded in as well. Lots of raptors, lots of owls, lots of smaller birds that then use the water holes to drink. And because they are consistent in how they move to and from the water hole to drink, the raptors that hunt them actually then also target these water holes to get the birds that they feed on. Some rare birds in the area as well. Ludwig's bastard can be seen there. The sand grouses, I think 3 of the 4 species of sand grouse are found in the park. Sparrowlarks, the falcons, Lana and rednecked. And then this trip I got 8 new species, including the ashy tit and blackface waxbill. So yeah, you have to keep birding and keep looking out for different species that you may not get in other regions of South Africa. So when I book, I usually book multiple camps. Tweeterfeeden I see as the sort of gateway into the park, so I usually book a night or 2 in Tweeterfeeden before moving on to Nosop and Matamata. Nosop camp is the hardest camp to get bookings at. It's usually booked out well in advance, and to find a camp slot is quite hard. For this last trip that I did in March, I actually wanted to get Nosop camp, and I even went onto the Facebook page for the Kgalagadi Accommodation and put out a request if anyone was willing to allow me to pitch my camp in a campsite that they were already occupying. Each campsite can take up to 6 people, so there are sometimes people who are camping 2 people, And if you then, pitch a small tent and just share their campsite with them, they are willing to do that, for 1 or 2 nights. Um, so then the routes between the camps are basically where you're going to get most of your sightings. Um, when you're driving from Tweediefield to Nosop Camp, you're driving along the Nosop River. And then when you're driving from Tweediefield to Mata Mata, you're driving along the uh, Aub, AOB, Aub River, and that's where Tweediefield gets its name from. It's the meeting point of the Nossob and the Aub. Um, Most years, those two riverbeds are dry. There is the odd occasion when the rivers will flow. I think they 1 in 40-year rivers, if I'm not mistaken. So the last time they flowed was, I think, 2010, and then in 2021 they had very good rains with the hurricane that moved in from Mozambique and then over Zimbabwe and Botswana, and the Aub flowed almost all the way to the confluence point, um, where the Aub meets the Nossob River, which is about 5 km north of Tweediefield. So yeah, if you are very lucky, you'll get to see the rivers in flow, but most visits will be with these two rivers being dry. And the main routes are basically just driving along these riverbeds. There are regular water holes, that are marked along the two rivers, and these water holes can serve as meeting points for the animals. So it's always good to drive to these water holes, stop and take in the sightings at the different water holes. Usually the animals will congregate, and because the grazers and browsers are congregating at the water hole, this can then lure in the predators as well. And mostly you are self-driving, so I'd move from Tweediefield to Nossob or Tweediefield to Mata Mata and take the day to drive between the camps. And then from the big camps themselves, you can then plot out routes either north, south of that camp, and just spend your time driving up and down those roads and trying to get some sightings. I found personally Nossob to be the more productive camp, but driving to Mata Mata also has some benefits. I've seen more bee eaters up to Mata Mata, and giraffes as well are more likely towards Mata Mata. And the one leopard sighting I had was also on the way to Mata Mata. So, it is a little bit of luck of the draw, and you can get most animals on both sort of roads, but I would prefer to go to Nossob given the choice. There are a couple roads that go between Nossob and Mata Mata across the dunes between the two rivers. So I think if you are not staying at Bitterpan, you have to drive down to Dikpartskalk, and then it goes across, I think, almost to the museum on the Aub River, Akterloni Museum. I can't remember the picnic spot, the name of it, on that road. And that road is a bit rough compared to the driving on the river roads, but you can take it slow, and it's not too bad. You can also go on drives with the rangers at the different camps. Generally, they've got one truck that's going out, or one vehicle that's going out from the camp at night. So they can, if the park is very busy, they can get full very quickly. So make sure that you either book ahead or plan accordingly. Um, I think this last trip we were in Nossob, and only managed to get on one evening drive. The other two evening drives were full. So you can do, I think, morning and evening drives with the rangers at the different camps. And then I think, just to wrap up in terms of what you need to take along if you are planning to stay in the park. The park has shops at Tweedevieren, Nosop, and Matamata that will keep basic groceries and things like liquid soap and toothpaste and stuff like that. Tweedevieren has a restaurant as well. So if you're planning to stay at Tweedevieren, you can make use of the restaurant. Um, Nossob, they don't have the restaurant, but you can buy things like pies and some butchery items as well from the camp. And if you ask at the shop, they'll also have a list for rooster cook and some other breads that they make as well, which is nice to have when they make it fresh. Um, Otherwise, you need to carry almost all your groceries and essential items. Um, I don't really braai, so I'm not 100% sure if they allow charcoal in, but I think they do. Um, and I'm not 100% sure if they allow wood in either. But if you are intending to braai, just check out the Sandparks website on the rules for that. Um, and then, yeah, I think in terms of if you there in the summer, in terms of getting ice, you can get it from the shop, and you can also get your Wi-Fi voucher from the shop. There is Wi-Fi in Nosop and Matamata, but only at the shops, I think. I just go without. Tweedevieren has some cellular reception, so I drive in the park, and then when I get back to Tweedevieren, I get all my messages and things like that. I think otherwise, I hope you do go through and watch the videos I've put out, and see how I enjoyed the park and in my last trip. And I think I also documented the previous trip in September 21 as well. When I first visited in December 2018, I fell in love with the park, and I try to, get out as often as I can. It's not as easy to get there, but when I do get there, I realize why it's actually worth, the drive and the struggle to get there. It's beautiful. The sightings are amazing, and the birding is amazing. And I think just that open wilderness that's unique to the Kgalagadi is what draws me back over and over again. I don't know when my next trip back will be. Maybe, I'll try to get out February, March next year again. But hopefully, I'll be back soon. And hopefully, this video serves as a little bit of inspiration for you if you haven't already visited the Kgalagadi. If you have visited the Kgalagadi and have anything to add or any questions to address, please add them to the video, and I'll try and get them answered as well. So I'm going to sign off for now, and then we'll catch you on the next one. Hi guys, just a postscript on the video. I just wanted to give a massive thanks to Shailene Puran, who gave a super thanks on one of my videos, the first super thanks on my channel. I really appreciate it, and thanks for doing that. So once again, thanks for watching the video, and we'll catch you on the next one.